Boom, baby! We are back with another episode, and we got none other than author of the book Soul Led Sobriety Break Free from Alcohol and Step into a More Fulfilling, Spiritual, and Joy Filled Life, Chrissy Janiga. Chrissy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm excited because you didn't dream, we were talking about this right before, you didn't always have plans to be an author.
Nope,
But
not at
now
all.
you are, and your book is sweet. Your cover is awesome. Your book is so powerful. How the heck did this come about? Like what made you decide to write a book knowing that it wasn't always a dream of yours like it is for so many others?
Well, mine came through, I think through my transformation that I had through my own sobriety journey. I know a lot of us really find ourselves and find purpose in transformation. So for me, it was going through some of the things that I talk about in the book, just why it's hard to break up with alcohol, but the things we want after sobriety, the things that are so important to us. And so for me, it kind of just came in chunks. So I thought about writing this book, gosh, was it like 2023? I actually saw myself in a meditation when I was actually meditating, and I saw myself signing books and going on stage, which is really cool. And then slightly after that, I thought about the actual title, Soul Led Sobriety, even like thought purple cover. I didn't know exactly how it would transpire, but I think for me, I needed more time to go through my own journey
Hmm.
and my own experiences to really feel like I was in a place to write the book. I needed it to be not the perfect time because I was actually going through a divorce when I was writing this, which was super therapeutic, but I needed to feel like, okay, I need to bring this to life. And that's what I felt like when I talked to you. I knew it was time.
Yeah. Okay, I'm curious about this, okay? A lot of people think they have an idea in them, but they always say it's not the right time. Now, for you, it seems like you wrote this book during a busy season, a season that was filled with a lot of probably ups and downs for you, right? A lot of emotions. But you also had just mentioned, too, that you knew you weren't ready in 2023 when you had the idea. So, what was the moment or what was the thing that made you say, you know what, I'm ready, even though it's not the perfect time, but I'm ready for this? Was there something that triggered that for you?
Yeah, I think having that meditation and writing the things I wrote in my I call it my intuition journal. I'm like it I'm like I have to bring this to life. And I'm once you know, once my separation went through and we were, living in our own place, I was like, you know what? This is like the best time for me. And you're right, it wasn't perfect. It was messy. There was a lot of emotional turmoil, but when I would sit down to write, it was just like, this is where I needed to be. So I just knew that it wasn't necessarily it had to be like the perfect time. It needed to be a time where I felt like I could do this and I could
Mm.
do it in many different facets. So I think for me, when I started following you actually a long time ago, probably somewhere in 2023 actually, and I'm like, I want to do that one day. I want help with certain parts of it because the other thing, and we might get into this a little bit too, but when people think like it has to be perfect, like I am not like an English major. I don't have like this huge background writing books. And so I knew that I would also need to get help because of that. And the fact also, it's really hard to be accountable. I can tell you that much. Like for me, because I had so much going on, I needed to actually have that accountability, a mentor, and help with my vision and what I wanted to do to make it actually come to reality.
Mm, mm. And as you were going through the process, okay, because you had thought about it, you were knowing that it wasn't perfect, but you were going to go for it. What were some of those initial hesitations or concerns that you had? And how did you navigate those throughout the process?
So my concerns was time. So like, how am I going to do this? With I worked full time, I have a child, I have other responsibilities. But then when you kind of talk to talk to your company and talk to the people, you're like, oh, you can break it down in like bite-sized pieces. Because the thing I've learned, and actually I talk about it in my book, and so I'm like, I have to be a product of the product, is when we think about the big goal of writing a book, it's like very, very, in our nervous systems, it's like a lot. Like that's a lot. I can't do it. First, like, well, if you break it in chunks, like we did, right? I had this whole outline. I had help breaking it down. It's more manageable and bite size versus like you look at this
Hmm.
big thing. Um, and for me, the other thing too was like, the whole thing is like it's like thinking about all the things that need to be put into a book too, like all the pieces to the puzzle. However, it's done and it's very exciting. But yeah, I think for me it was more like the time commitment. Can I get this done? And I think, there there is some parts of it that you like do need to have like a plan, right? Like you have to have a plan. But also it's again having accountability to somebody was really, I think it was a really big key for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, accountability is so key, especially having somebody who's done what you're looking to do and then who can follow, who can help kind of guide you through the process. So I, I want to know a little bit more about this, right? Like a lot of your books about how to step into a more fulfilling, spiritual, and joy-filled life. So what does that mean to you? What's a fulfilling, spiritual, and joy-filled life comprised of for you?
I think it's doing what you're meant to be like doing in this planet Earth. That could be a variety of things. I talk about in my book, people are kind of just sometimes scratching the surface because they don't think things could be better. They're used to chaos. That's where we're supposed to live. They don't really, they want to be abundant, but they don't know how to be abundant, right? They don't know how to get this more fulfilling, rich life. And so for me, it's really just what do you want? And part of that will be through a transformation. Part of that might be helping people. Part of that might be volunteering, right?
Yep.
So like I can't answer that for every person, but in the context of my book, like at least from my own experience and the people that I work with, is when you stop drinking, and you don't have to have a problem, you don't have to be a like, severe, you can be anywhere in the spectrum. But oftentimes I feel like alcohol blocks a lot for people and taking them up to their next potential or making them realize the things that they could have. And so that is something I like to teach because it's not about what we're losing. And I think so much in our lives, and even not with alcohol, but like I can't quit my job. I can't do this. I can't do that because I'm going to lose something instead of saying, well, maybe I'm going to gain something versus losing it. I'm not telling
Mm.
people to go quit their jobs either, but what I'm saying is that sometimes we don't look at possibilities. We look at what's not working and what could be possible, maybe in 1 year, maybe in 2 years.
Yeah. Why do you think we do that? Right? Because I think you bring up an interesting point as you focus, because you have the job today, right? It exists. Therefore, that's the baseline, right? And so you are losing that if you were to change it up. But what if the possibility on the other side was a lot better? So, like, how do you navigate this? How do you think about this?
So I'm going to use my example of when I saw myself writing books, going on stage. I've not done that yet, right? Like I haven't gone on stage. I'm not signing books everywhere, but I'm taking like baby small steps to get there, right? So I think it's not, again, looking at the full book. It's looking at the steps to get to that place. Like if you want to open a business or do something, okay, well, what do you want to do? And can you do small parts of it? It's doing things for free, right? Like if I go and speak somewhere, I might just go do it for free. I'm not going to ask people for millions of dollars right now. I just want to get myself out there to the community and work with people that I am passionate about. So I think instead of, again, one is looking at the smaller picture, but also getting really honest with yourself. Like, where in your life are you not feeling is like lit up, or maybe there's something that's not in alignment. And again, you might not always know that, but usually it's relationships, jobs, growth, those types of things. Usually people maybe are kind of ignoring.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's such an interesting concept when we talk about like fulfillment, when we talk about joy, right? We have the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but then there's also like the golden handcuffs when it comes to job, but then there's also like, well, just because you have it now doesn't mean you have to settle, right? There's a million and one different phrases or thoughts that come around this particular topic. And so if someone's currently in a situation, whether it's with alcohol or whether it's in their relationships or whether it's with their jobs, is there any action item that you would recommend or any question that you would pose to have them think about that would help maybe somebody first recognize if they're in that situation, and then secondly, should they or should they not necessarily make the change for where they're at?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, like I said, getting honest, but what do you want? Like, what kind of relationship do you want? Again, it doesn't mean you're going to get divorced, right? Or lose a partner. Oh, I want more communication. Okay, maybe you got to talk to that person, right? Like there could be simple solutions that aren't grandiose. But I think just if you had all the resources, the money, everything, what would you want, right? What would, if anything was possible? Because what happens is we don't dream big sometimes. And I know that's maybe the cliche thing, but when we don't think something's possible, we dismiss it. We dismiss the synchronicities. We dismiss the things that come into our lives. We are like tunnel vision versus looking at like the bigger picture. So
Hmm.
I think it's get honest, like where in your life maybe do you feel like there's some stagnation, right? Could be anything. Again, doesn't mean you have to take drastic change and start paying attention to that. So when I stopped drinking, I wrote in my manifestation journal at the time, I want to change my relationship with alcohol, right? Like I couldn't even say sober at that point because I didn't like to me, I was like, "Ah, I don't have a problem." So I wrote that down, but like that year I got sober. The 2023, I wrote down I want to find more purpose. By having that intention in my mind, I walked around thinking about it. And I think the other thing is people sometimes think they have to do big things. I need to become a New York Times bestselling author. I need to buy a mansion. I need to win the lottery and do big things, right? Versus like, what about the little things? Maybe it's taking your child somewhere. Maybe it's you and your spouse need to travel more and sit down and talk about your budget because that's what you really want to do. It doesn't have to be anything of anybody else thinks that you should do. And I think that's the other thing is basing what you want on your own agenda, not your parents, not the societal agenda.
Hmm. I think a lot of people get stuck in that trap, right? Of doing what they think they're supposed to do or doing what they think they should be doing rather than doing what they actually want to be doing,
Hmm.
for the betterment of themselves, their relationships, and ultimately for their joy, right? And I think that's a really interesting thing. So I want to go back to the book. Okay. You get ready for this book. You end up with this epic cover. All right. And we're going to link the book in here so everyone can go get a copy of your book, Soul Led Sobriety. But talk to me about the launch. Talk to me about the emotions that came up, the feelings of what it was like, what'd you do for it. I love hearing about how people structure their launches within the system. So, what was that like for you?
So it was really exciting. It was also a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was good. I actually got people to be in my launch team, told all my friends they were on my launch team. And, I talked about it on my social media. So people that have been following me that we've been, obviously close with, it's been really good. It's really exciting. I've had some people reach out to me to be on their podcast. I'm, one of the non-alcoholic companies in my town. They were on my launch team, and I'm going to go there and do a book signing and an event. So it's been really good, and I'm really excited just to see what the future holds. But the other thing too is I got, top release in multiple categories, which is really exciting. So I have all that saved so I can kind of revisit it. But that was really cool to see. I felt like I was like glued to my phone the whole weekend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned something that I think was really interesting, and we mentioned a lot of things that have been really interesting. But one thing that I thought you just said was you landed the kind of like a partnership with that local non-alcoholic company in your area, and you're going to do a book signing for them. That could be like a really amazing partnership for you to find a lot of these non-alcoholic substitutes and do book bundles with them and go to their different locations, pop up at their pop-ups and partner up with a lot of those things. Have you thought about doing that on like a larger scale with a variety of companies?
No, but that would be really, really cool. Like I want to go
Yeah.
big. Like that's my big dream is, I want to impact, you know, here in my house on the internet, but also I think going on a larger scale and getting the message out there. So I never actually really thought about like outside of like my state. So that's something definitely something to be considered.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're getting me excited for you and the potential with all of this. Like, let me ask one other question here. And for everyone that's listening, we're kind of getting now into some like almost a little coaching action right now because I'm getting fired up. But like for your book, okay, who's the exact audience that you wrote this book for?
So I typically work with women, but anybody could really read the book.
Okay.
It's anybody could, but it's I would say people that are sober curious, people that are sober or anywhere in their sober journey. I think it could help you because I do talk about tangible things that are related to sobriety, but I also give tips and tools that are related to the nervous system and healing. And although I do feel like once you stop drinking, I relate a lot to that, but not necessarily. Even when we're sober and I don't drink, people will still have issues with their nervous system. Things will still pop up. You know,
Yeah.
you're still going to look at, and I have a whole chapter on purpose and grace too, which in anybody's journey, you need to have grace. And
Mm.
also, I'm a big lover of purpose and helping people kind of figuring out what they want to do beyond alcohol.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm gonna double down on my idea of what it's your idea actually. I'm just trying to make you see it bigger. Is the sober? I mean, I'm in Southern California, and the sober curious movement just continues to
Oh my
grow and
gosh,
grow
it's
and
so
grow,
big
right?
there. Yes.
Everybody wants to try the sober curious thing, and
Mhm.
there's been so many drinks that have been popping up, whether it's different types of alcohol, liquor, beer, non-alcoholic beers, or whatever, just drink substitutes, alcohol substitutes, that like there's probably a ton of opportunities that are doing pop-ups, or you can do a book signing and have them sponsor at these various different things. You could get them to sponsor you to then speak for free at other events. So
Oh
that you're
wow.
now so here's the idea here, right? Is like there's a lot of places that you have your message that could help a lot of people. But there's probably a lot of places, big or small. Some big are going to have massive budgets that will hire you to be the speaker and be awesome. But your message is to get out there. You want to do all these things. But there's probably a
Hmm.
lot of local, regional chapters of different organizations that fit your audience. And you may be like, gosh, I wish I could help all of them, but like they don't have the budgets to bring me out. Well, that's when you partner with one of these non-alcoholic companies, these drink companies. And then what they do is they basically can sponsor your entire tour, and you could just go on for a year and just speak to every group that you want
Oh my
to
God, that would be
about
so
what it is that you
amazing.
do. And the reason I'm saying this, and I know that this works, is I've seen it done, but like I did a small version of this when I was speaking on my second book, is I got a school district. So I wanted to speak to more students. And some of the schools that I wanted to go to, they just didn't have a budget. And I was like, how could I really make this happen? And so I found a school district, and that school district sponsored me. So they covered my speaker fees and my travel. And then I was able to go to all of those schools. So everybody got a good deal because my overall deal for me was way bigger than one gig. I got to impact thousands and thousands of people on this one experience. The schools didn't have to pay for me, and then the district was able to do something really great for their schools at a much cheaper rate than if the schools had to pay separately.
Wow,
So
that's
you could do
interesting.
something really similar to that with your audience, or even just do city by city meetups. Pick 20 cities you want to go to, get one of these companies to bring you product and pay for you to do all of this, and then boom, you got yourself a brand partner and an opportunity. Like that could be really
Hmm.
cool.
You're making me think too. That's interesting. I have people in New York, and then I know one woman was on my podcast. She owns a company in Nashville. Yeah.
There's so many cool ways to do it, and I think that that's something that a lot of people, a lot of authors, they can sometimes struggle with as they go into the speaking world, is that they think like, oh, I have to find these big events that have the big budgets that will pay me. And it's like, yeah, that's the best way to do it, because it's clear cut. There's an event, they hire speakers, they pay the speakers. Cool. But there's also so many ways to be creative within it. And the reason you wrote this book, the reason I write books, is to help a lot of people. So
Hmm.
if the dream is to help a lot of people and to speak on stages, who cares who's funding that? as long as we're getting paid for the work that we're doing and then able to make the impact we want to make, right? So
Yeah.
definitely food for thought, or in your case, drinks for thought, right? To find these non-alcoholic partners. And I think it could be a really, really awesome play for you as you move to the next stage of taking the book to the next level.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about one more topic here, though, because we got into this all exciting stuff, but you talked about purpose. You talked about your chapter on purpose and grace. And I want to kind of
Hmm.
finish on this topic related to purpose. All right. How do we find our purpose? Are there questions to ask ourselves? Is there a reflection period? Is there journaling? Like, what do you mentioned you like helping people find their purpose? Like, what's your go
Hmm.
to?
So I usually like to ask people questions. I think intuitively, all of us have like ideas. I hear people tell me all the time, I wish I could do this and that and the other. And although they might not be able to do it again by tomorrow, um, it's really you're the like the guide. People have fleeting thoughts all day. So I think one thing I would do is pay attention to some of those thoughts. I tell people, even in the book, get an intuition journal. Um, and with purpose, your purpose can look different every year. It can look different on a day-to-day basis. So it doesn't have to feel overwhelming. For example, part of my purpose is raising my son. And it's not just doing what I'm doing here, but it's being a mom. It's the people in my life, loving them and being there for them. So that's one part. But also I think when people think about purpose is they're wanting something in their lives that feels like it's missing.
Mm,
So oftentimes that's what they're looking for. And often it's growth related. It's there's something maybe missing. And so part of it's going to be them exploring it themselves, maybe with help. Like obviously it's what I help with as well. Like so one woman has told me, like, I really want to help people, maybe like you do. I'm like, okay. Like she's not in a place to do it yet. She's not sure how it looks, but that's a really huge indicator. And I talk about this in the book, I talk about Tony Robbins, and I talk about the DILTS model. The DILTS model is it goes from like the bottom. If we change a habit, you change your behavior environment. But what he's suggesting is no, 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 no. You go to the top. So, for example, for me, when I stopped drinking, it wasn't just removing alcohol, right? There's tangible things people do need to do when they stop drinking, 100%. But what he's suggesting is if we change more what we want to do, who we want to become, it's all going to trickle down to your behavior, your environment. So I truthfully believe I'll never get what I want if I drink again. Vastly
mm,
different than me being a huge red wine drinker. And the reason I share that is that sometimes it takes time to wrap yourself around an identity that you don't know about. So if you
mm,
tell somebody they're going to be a seven-figure business owner and they're making 35,000, they're going to be like, okay. So you have to sometimes go through your own transformation and your own parts of your lives to get to where you want to be. But if
mm,
you sit down every year, every parts like different parts of the year, and you ask yourself, what I want to do, like what would make me happy? You can go through your spirituality, you can go through your relationships, you can go through your maybe giving back to the community. It's trying to figure out what parts of your life that you want to really harness on and what's important to you. So for me, it's also some things I had to let go in my life to get the things that I want. Not that someone was necessarily holding me back or something was holding me back, but it was getting honest about what wasn't working in my life so I could
mm.
make things work differently. So
Yeah.
I think to answer your question, I know I've kind of answered it, but to really answer it is I think intuitively we all know what we want. It's sometimes getting quiet. It's contemplation. It's in like it's really setting an attention, and start being open to possibilities versus being closed-minded to possibilities. If we think,
Mm,
like I said before, we can never get this, I'll never be an author. You won't be then. It's just how your brain is. Your brain will think that's the truth, and you will not find evidence that you're going to be an author. So if you say like, you know what, I would love to write one day. I'm not sure how I'm going to get there, but I'm really excited about this, you will find that your brain's going to start searching for opportunities. You're going to see
mm,
things differently versus being closed off. So I think it's and it's following people, it's meeting with you, it's doing different things to cultivate how can I bring things to life. And again, if you want to be a public speaker like myself, like I'm not going to go and tell all these people they have to pay me $50,000, right? Like $50,000. I'm going to be like, I'm going to do things for free, and I'm going to meet people and collaborate and not have this like egoistic part of it. It's being open. Gabby Bernstein talked about this too. She's like in the manifestation world. She's pretty big in spirituality. Is before she was a public speaker, she would go on stage and do all these things that were like just like super small things, and she would pretend that she's this big public speaker, and she would tell people I'm a motivational speaker. She wasn't yet, right? If you if you go to my website, I'm a speaker. I have a whole thing where they can contact me. Not because I'm actually like, I mean, I do have a podcast. I mean, it's not like I'm not speaking, but I'm not like doing exactly what I want to do, but I'm embodying it because it's going to happen, right? But it took me a long time to believe those things. So you
Mm,
also, I think, again, you might have to work with a therapist, a coach, somebody too to help you with these things. So don't have any shame in getting help and reaching out to people
yeah.
because we sometimes don't have all the tools to do the things.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. We got to leave some things for people to go get the book for. We got to leave some of that good stuff. So Chrissy, this has been great. How do people go ahead and grab the book, Soul Led Sobriety? How can we stay in touch with you? How can we learn from you? How can we hire you to speak if somebody feels compelled to bring you to their audience?
Well, my name, Chrissy Janiga, and I know you're gonna link some things below too, but my websites, my socials, it's funny, I always kept them not like super niche. I didn't put like anything with sober because I'm like, I want to be a writer. So I don't want to have that. So mine's at Chrissy Janiga on all social media platforms. My website's www.chrissyjaniga.com. And I have a way people can contact me if they want, you know, me to public speak for them. I'm super easy to get a hold of. My book's on Amazon. I have the Kindle and then obviously the paperback. So you can head there and put the soul, and then you have to put the dash, lead,
Yeah.
sobriety.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Chrissy, this has been awesome. Like you said, yeah, we'll get it all linked down below. So it makes super easy for listeners to check you out and to get the book. But, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for following that intuition from 2023. Thank you for trusting us to help you get through the process. And you've done a great job with your book, and I'm excited to see where it takes you. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, you guys, there you have it. Another great episode with Chrissy. And before we wrap up here, look, you know how we finish these. We do a challenge. And, there have been quite a few things that I took notes on that Chrissy shared with me, but I want to lean into what we finished with, which was talking about that purpose. And so my challenge to you is just to ask yourself a few questions. Where do you want to see growth in your life? And what do you think is currently missing from where you want to be? And then the last question I want you to ask yourself is, who do you need to be? What identity do you need to have in order to get there? And start seeing if things come to mind. Start seeing if things shift. And if you need a little more to guide you through this, go buy Soul Led Sobriety because there's going to be some things in there. All right, but that's the challenge for you today. That's the episode for today. That's Chrissy Janiga for you folks. And I'm Jake Kelfer, your host of the Big Idea to Bestseller podcast. We'll see you next time.